We're not asking anybody to make any political statement one way or another. We're saying try and save your life and that of your family and that of the community. Here we have a vaccine that's highly, highly effective. It's easy to get, it's free, and it's readily available. So, you've got to ask, what is the problem? Get over it. Get over this political statement. Just get over it and try and save the lives of yourself and your family.
Anthony Fauci, what is he doing? If you actually think politics is involved with people not taking it, and let's say you thoroughly believe that, if you actually believe it, then the first thing you will say is, my attention, Trump supporters, if you are not doing this because Joe Biden's president, it was Operation Warp Speed under the previous president that you likely voted for, you one of the 75 million, that put this together, that over 1 million shots in arms was happening before Donald Trump left office. If you really think it's pure politics, Sandra Smith is here, getting set to host her show, America Reports, from 1 to 3 today. Sandra, welcome back.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having me.
So I was shocked to hear him say, get over it. It's politics. Is that really his job, get over it?
Even though I had already heard that, hearing it again, it made me think, why? Why does he go there? His job could have been, this entire time, to simply relay the facts, what he knows, obviously advise on what is best to get us through this pandemic. But it seems to me that's more of a political statement than anything. And Brian, I think this goes to the root of the biggest concern, mainly coming from the right, is the slippery slope that may come as a result of the White House saying, we're now going door to door. We're going to ring your doorbell, and if you're not vaccinated, we are going to mandate that you are. Jim Jordan tweeted out today, the Biden administration wants to knock on your door to see if you're vaccinated. What's next? Knocking on your door to see if you own a gun. It's just another reason people are worried about the government just completely taking over our lives. Reasonable concern when you hear Dr. Fauci, who has been an authority through this pandemic, say, get over it. I think that rubs a lot of people the wrong way.
So the door-to-door concept, you think they'd back off of? Everyone was kind of offended by that. It seemed mostly Republicans, but they've doubled down yesterday. Here's Jen Psaki, cut 32.
What we're trying to do here as the federal government is protect the American people and save lives, prevent people from getting COVID and the coronavirus. It's up to every individual to decide whether they're going to get vaccinated, but especially as we're seeing reports from the CDC about the rise of the Delta variant, one of the most transmissible variants we've seen there, this is about protecting people and saving lives. That's a role we're going to continue to play from the federal government and use any of the tools and tactics that we think will be effective.
So it's about saving lives. It's their charge. So I shouldn't go cliff diving. I shouldn't go deep sea fishing. Sure. What else shouldn't I do? Should I not play rugby because I could break my nose? What else does the government not think I should be doing?
I think the translation from Psaki there is, we know better than you. But to be sure, the White House has so far rejected calls to mandate the national vaccine passport. Right, Brian? They have also said that they're going to leave it up to companies and schools whether or not they're going to require vaccines. I don't know if you're impressed by that or if that shocks you at all, but that is the case so far. It is up to the commander-in-chief to decide whether or not they will mandate this for members of the military. But more than 500, I'm looking out to the fall because obviously you saw a lot of the headlines in the various papers this morning about the return of the indoor mask mandate in so many areas. What's going to happen when schools reopen in the fall? I asked our brain firm for some data this morning. More than 570 colleges have already announced that vaccines will be mandatory for fall attendance. And when you've got headlines about these variants happening all over the world and Japan going into emergency mode now because of COVID cases and all that, what is the fall going to look like? Are we going to return to masks on all the kids K through 12 in our classrooms? I mean, we're already weeks away from some of these schools starting back up in the fall.
I know, it's unbelievable. And that's just another thing I want to discuss with you is what's happening at the CRT and what Randy Weingarten was saying. But I'll back up a little bit. My daughters, too, are going to be going. One's going to be going to college. The other one is in college. They were both told it's a private school, need vaccine to get on campus. So they did it. And one's 17, one's 19. So now 20, my bad. 18, 20. I'm going to get in trouble. Yeah. That's one bad thing about being on 77 WABC. They can hear us in New York. So they're 18 and 20. But I want you to hear another story. So you're big into the track community,
sure.
And I'm with soccer. And one of the players that played with my brother has a son that's going to college this year, and his one son got the shot, no problem. His other son got the shot, and he still can't recover from it. Listen to what he told us.
He was required to get the vaccine for schools. I never thought anything of it. Everything is low risk. Everybody said it's fine. And then a week later, I came home and he started telling me that his heart was hurting him. Next thing I know, next day, I get a call like, this bad news. He needs to go to the hospital. His troponin levels were off the chart. But they told me it was normal was like 40. He had like 9,000. He's had a heart condition, and he can't do all the things he loves to do. He can't hang out with his friends and do, things that 17-year-olds do. And the biggest part, he can't play soccer in the fall, which broke his heart and my heart.
Myocarditis. So he had inflammation of the heart. And as he went home, he said, I'm not recovering. He goes, how do you feel? He goes, every time my heart beat, it hurts. Oh. So they had to bring him to the hospital, and he still can't recover. He can't break a sweat. He can't exert himself. How do you tell a 17-year-old not to even – that's walking upstairs. So this went from an elite athlete, college soccer player, to this. And the dad feels guilty. And I say this, Sandra. Instead of being a doctor and a politician, why not say, listen, I understand there are some cases out there of myocarditis that are popping up for teens. We're going to look into that. Part of it could be – my humble opinion, is that the kid had antibodies already. The whole family had it. So if you have antibodies, why isn't that part of this conversation? Save the money on shots. Give it to Nigeria or Somalia or Uganda or Norway. They need it. Japan needs it. And then you say, along with the COVID-19, it's so easy to get the COVID-19 test, right? Yep. Anyone can get it. So just get the antibody test. Excuse me, Sandra, you had it. You still have the antibodies. I'm going to say 6 months, come back again, see if you still have it. Yep. Then we might have a problem with certain bodies, certain metabolisms saying, I already have the antibodies. You just shot them into me again. Yeah. I got a problem with the mRNA, or how Johnson & Johnson, when you actually shoot the antibodies in, how they factor in with the antibodies that they're already. So maybe that's the case. Do you give someone with polio the polio vaccine? Yeah. Who had it already? It
just doesn't feel like they're taking that into consideration. Kids are our priority. I think there's individual cases. It seems like there's a blanket statement, everybody get vaccinated before you return to school. The Fox poll also surprised me. 51% of voters say employers should be able to mandate the vaccine. That was a majority of the respondents. So people want to feel safe when they go back to work. But that's not that age group. 44% of voters say businesses should require proof of vaccine. 49% say they should not. I know you just showed me your barcode. I think that's going to be fascinating as we all cram back in these spaces. Concerts are happening. But schools in the fall, I think, is the big question mark. And that's terribly sad when you hear a case like that.
So the
Brian.
market's down 207. It was down more than that, but 275 points right now, right?
And so it was down 500 earlier.
You're the business expert, but when I was here, I was trying to find out what the reason was, and they were saying it was the Delta variant. And I said, is that for real? The Delta variant ticking up numbers, deaths are still way down, ticking up numbers slightly, but the Delta variant's handled by the vaccine. Sandra, we're making decisions. It's not up to me for you to get a vaccine or me to get a vaccine. I'm not going to get you sick. You're not going to get me sick. It's infinitesimal chances of me getting sick. So it doesn't matter if somebody next to you is vaccinated or not. If the numbers go up, it's the numbers go up. If someone drinks and drives, it's a bad decision, but I can't control them. I can't control if they get high and drive. It's not up to me. As soon as anyone could get the vaccine, this game changed. And I think he should continue to do the PSAs and push it forward. But I also go back to what Victor David Hansen said. One of the reasons he keeps talking about it, it's his only good news story.
I think so, but he missed He missed his self-imposed deadline, right?
That was still making it.
I think that's still absolutely step back and think about that. I mean, nearly 70% of the population's got a vaccination. Yeah. That's a really, really big deal. When it comes to the markets, I think the variants are a concern, but the variants have been an issue for a while, so I don't know that would be the one-day spook for these markets.
What do you think it is?
But the market's sitting at all-time highs, record highs, despite the fact that we still are not done with this pandemic. It's not over. You still got, hot spots happening all over the world. Japan going into emergency mode. No fans at the Olympics. This is a system that has had an immense amount of money pumped into it. I mean, the amount of stimulus that is out there, Brian, when we still can't get people to go fill 9 million open jobs out there, people are getting checks. They're sitting on a lot of cash and savings from the pandemic.
I heard, you hear that number, 46% have taken their pandemic money and invested it?
Absolutely.
Are you kidding? You're taking money that we borrowed.
Meme stocks, Bitcoin, yeah.
So
that's a real thing.
And do you think this is part of, I mean, no one talks about inflation. If I was him, I wouldn't.
I
would actually talk about inflation. You do. Do you talk about common goods that are affected? You know, my daughter's starting to drive, and the first thing she said to me, I can't believe how expensive gas got. I'm like, wow, it's up $1. So
nice of her to notice.
If a 20-year-old is picking that up, if a 20-year-old is picking that up, can you imagine the family who's living paycheck to paycheck? Now, all of a sudden, housing's up 12%, used cars are up 30%, general transportation up 11%, clothing up 5.6%, food up 2%, let alone lumber.
Try building a house right now, yeah.
And gas is up. Last year at this time, premium was $2.78. Now it's $3.74. So it's a full $1.
Yeah.
It makes a difference.
What good is wage growth if that money is going directly back into your payment at Walmart or Costco or wherever you're going to feed your family or clothe your family? Housing prices are at record highs. Sales are still up. Brian, the price of absolutely everything has gone up. But the White House is in denial about the inflation story, and I'm not quite sure why that is. And the markets have been in denial of the inflation story. So your daughter notices the price of gas going sky high, but yet the markets don't seem to care. It seems, and I had an economist tell me this recently, that the markets have bought the Fed's transitory comment, hook, line, and sinker, that this inflation story is not here to stay and that will eventually go away. But then you get a day like today where the markets are spooked. The Dow was down 500 points a few minutes ago. And I think people start to question, like, is there enough really good fundamentals to render the record high prices that we're seeing in the Dow, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ? And what really would be the catalyst for a turnaround in that market? And I do believe inflation is the next big deal. And if you can't get people to go back to work, can we afford to continue to cut the checks that is stimulating that market and this U.S. economy? Well,
the other thing, there's two things that you just brought up that I think is worthy of emphasizing. We're going to put another $1 trillion. If a bipartisan bill goes through, another $1 trillion, $560 billion, which will be new money, into our economy, a bipartisan passing. And then they're going to jam a reconciliation bill of up to $4 trillion down our throats, while states scramble to spend $330 billion of pandemic money before it's taken back or done something. So if you think inflation's a problem now, do the math. It's only going to get worse. Money we don't have. We're $33 trillion in debt, so we're over budget every month, and we're putting more in for an emergency that we're not in anymore.
Yeah, and the Fed has shown no signs of raising interest rates. So we're still in this free money environment while we have this record-breaking stock market and this hot economy. I go back to Larry Summers, worked under the Obama administration. He's usually a left-wing economist. He stepped in and saying, isn't it the job of the Fed to take away the punch bowl before the party gets out of control? And that is what I believe the markets fear has happened.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.